and other
of the Fourth Estate. This is the leadership of the People's Front for Freedom before you, and we want to thank you for coming and being brave, having the courage to cover People's Front for Freedom and all the voices of dissent in this country. Yesterday, while in court, we witnessed the state's wrath to humanity and the state's wrath to Dr. Kizza Besigye. For those doubting Thomases who we have been telling that the state would want to have Dr. Besigye killed, yesterday was the very good example. Yesterday, Dr. Besigye protested while the judge, Emmanuel Baguma Pirato, insisted to ignore the Constitution, insisted to ignore the rules of procedure in the court, call them civil procedure rules, and he proceeded to listen to a fugitive called Orlando who came to give his so-called evidence against Dr. Besigye. All of you who were there who could have witnessed, this is what exactly happened. Dr. Besigye, while he protested, he was handcuffed by the prison officers. He continued to protest. Then they arm-twisted him and put his hands behind him. And he cried out, "You guy, you are hurting me. You are hurting me." In that process, we did not see exactly what was happening because they were in a dock. He continued to protest. After a while, Dr. Besigye collapsed. A very short while, he collapsed. That collapse was preceded by a cry out, "You are hurting me, you are hurting me." How were they hurting him? Could somebody have administered something? Because that cry preceded shortly his collapse. Yes, you can think about a faint. Somebody can faint. But while he collapsed, I and Dr. Kamara, a renowned physician, and Dr. Olive Kobusinje, our teacher in the School of Medicine, we were 3 medical doctors who could have assisted the prison officers in taking charge to resuscitate somebody who has collapsed. That was Dr. Besigye. They denied us access to now a person who was a patient before us. We protested and we wanted to approach. They denied us access to our leader. And it took them about 15 minutes to drag him outside the dock and take him to a room down. What was remarkable and which we want to highlight here, it looks like Mr. Byaba Saija, who happens to be in charge of Uganda Prison Services, no longer has prisons officers. He also has military men in prison officers' uniforms. And I think the military has taken over the prisons as well. They denied us access to a man who collapsed. A man who is our leader, a man who is a relative to some of us. They denied us access. What were they doing with him while he was unconscious? We cannot know. Any sensible officer especially for a person who is being declared an enemy of the state, according to President Museveni. You cannot remain in the hands of the people who hate you while you are unconscious and you think we shall not suspect anything, especially when we are medically trained. The prison officer, who was a lady with the 3 stars, I don't know her name. She organized the operation to take Dr. Besigye to wherever it was. Dr. Olive Kobusinje took off time and went to her and asked her for permission to see her brother. And you know what she said? She told Dr. Olive Kobusinje, "You'll find us in Luzira, that is where we are taking him." So we assumed that they were taking him to Machon Bay. And it would be okay with us if at all he was taken to Machon Bay, because we would know that it is the prison service that is undertaking his Medicare. They instead took him to Mbuya Military Hospital. To Mbuya Military Hospital. Why did that prison officer deny us information? Why did she have to hide the identity of the hospital where they were taking Dr. Besigye? And it was after that engagement in such a facility that was driven to the National Referral Hospital, Mulago, in the intensive care unit, ICU. They drove him at night. They did not even have a courtesy of telling the relatives, especially Dr. Olive Kobusinje, who was around. It was through our own intelligence that we discovered that he had been taken to the ICU in Mulago Hospital, and we don't even have access to him. What we gather is that Dr. Besigye is in deep coma, unresponsive even to painful stimulus. See, when somebody is comatose, you can undertake a painful stimulus to see if at all he can respond. He's unresponsive. So that is the state in which Dr. Besigye is reported to be. And that is what we want to report to you. But these are very important observations to make. Why did the prison service take Dr. Besigye to the military hospital? Why is the prison service so unfriendly to the relatives, friends, and workmates, colleagues of Dr. Besigye to deny us access to him, even to know his condition? Why? Why should the Uganda Prison Service employ military officers and give them military uniforms of Uganda Prison Services? Because we can differentiate the behavior. There's a difference between the behavior of the military officers and officers who belong to the institution called the Uganda Prison Service. They behave very differently. Why would Uganda Prison Service officers have a lot of anger and be annoyed with us who wanted to see Dr. Besigye and offer medical care? Why would they be annoyed? They are mere custodians. They are usually friendly. And we who have been in that prison know the behavior of the Uganda prison servicemen, and we can differentiate the prison servicemen from the military officers. And we saw military officers in prison uniforms. And we want to interrogate this. Second observation yesterday was about the restriction that is being announced, administrative restrictions by the courts of law. We were here, you members of the Fourth Estate were here, when one man called Okello Onyum killed children in Gaba. President Museveni himself ordered that court be convened within the community for everybody to see and observe the proceedings. And it was done. How comes that Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutare's case is being listened to in an opaque manner? They want darkness, to listen to it in darkness. No transparency at all. They are restricting the media. They are restricting the public. But the public and the media have the rights to go in and observe the justice the way it is being conducted, because justice must be seen to be done. And we cannot see justice in darkness. We cannot see justice where the media is being closed out, is being censored, is being prevented from doing their work. They say you cannot do live streaming. They want even to check your gadgets to see what you have recorded, what you have sent, and so on, and maybe to criminalize the media. We say this one we must fight. We must fight against it. These are the people who said that they wanted to restrict us from knowing who their witnesses were. Yesterday, there was no media person could take a risk to take a picture of a fugitive called Wilson Orlando, the crooked man who came to give evidence, false evidence against Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutare. That man is supposed to be a prisoner. He's crooked. They are hiding him from the public media, and he's well known globally. He has no credibility. Now the courts don't want us to take pictures of him. He's taken so special because he's doing a dirty job for them. Why would they want to hide the identities of their witnesses if at all this case should stand a test of time, should stand a test at all? So Orlando was one. Nobody should take a picture of him. You should not even do live streaming. You should be vetted as the media. Even the public must be restricted. Leaders were stopped on the gate. Ingrid Turinawe was not supposed to go to court yesterday. Nyanjura Doreen was not supposed to go to court yesterday. Why? Because they have 10 eyes each, or they have 5 ears each. Because they know they were going to commit nefarious things which would anger the public. And they knew that we were not going to keep quiet. So we want the court of justice, especially the Chief Justice, who comes from Rukungiri, and the man we have written to as a consortium of leaders of political organizations that we want to engage, and he has not answered. How comes that the Chief Justice can be as silent as dead to that extent? Udunzeja appear in burial when Dr. Besigye is pronounced dead. How can you be a Chief Justice and you don't call your forces to order that cases must be listened to in an opaque manner, in darkness? What kind of transparency do you want while you are Chief Justice? We shall continue to speak against the courts as long as they want us to behave the way they want us to behave, to be in darkness while they are conducting injustice against the people for whom they must educate. That is the second observation. Members of the fourth estate, our most important message today is to demand for the health of Dr. Besigye We know very well that in the courts of law, there is no justice. Mr. Baguma is already organizing his judgment. Maybe he has already organized a judgment, and these are just formalities. So we expect no justice from him. We would have expected the Chief Justice Zeija Flavian to come out and change the person presiding over this case in Baguma, who has failed totally to convince even a kid that he can preside over a case and we get justice out of it. He's biased, he's commanded, I think he's a commander, he's a military officer. How can you walk away from court without even adjourning it? How can you refuse to listen to a man representing himself in court? How can you fail to make a response about constitutional matters that somebody representing himself raised, and you want to proceed because Orlando must go back home where he came from? A ticket, a state cannot, a ticket for him to come back anytime. It is a very shameful thing for Justice Baguma that after forcing Dr. Besigye to listen, which he refused to do, court had to stop even without an adjournment. So we want to ask him, did the court proceed? Dr. Besigye said, you are not going to proceed with this nonsense. Did it proceed? Okay, he can laugh that he is sick, and he can laugh if at all he dies. But did he proceed? So is he going to adjudicate and pass a sentence against somebody who is bedridden or even dead if at all he wants? Where did the jurisprudence go? It is one of the subjects in law. Where did it go? So Justice Zeija, the Chief Justice, needs to pull up his socks. If at all the judiciary is finally hijacked, even the office of the Chief Justice is hijacked by the military, let us know. Because we are aware that PLU is eating all the institutions of this country. Finally, let me talk about what exactly is happening in Uganda, because you members of the fourth estate need to know. Because of a struggle of one family which wants to rule us until their death. One man is ruling this country for 45 years. He wants to pass the baton to the son. The son is preparing the grandson of the first president in Sandhurst, so that he takes over the baton from the father, then the grandson takes over the baton from the son. That hegemony is fighting to ensure that they continue to subdue the population of Uganda, the population they found here. That is their struggle. And when they see anybody who can be president, like Dr. Besigye, that one must be killed, or lawfully, they will say he must be lawfully killed. So you go through the courts of law, Baguma passes a conviction, and then you can hang him by the neck until he is dead. Then you say that the courts decided so. When they see the party leader like Arias Lukwago is emerging, they say that one is going to compete against the son, so he must be incarcerated or even allowed to be killed by his health conditions, by denying him the right to go for treatment abroad. When they see any kind of political threat to their future tenure of office of the presidency, they will continue to hunt everybody down.